This is the story of an Agent Billy, who was given the job of an undercover FBI agent by two officers of the FBI department, Queenan and Sergeant Dignam. His job is to convey complete information about a big criminal named Frank to the FBI and get Frank arrested. On the other hand, Frank also has a partner named Colin, who is saving him from getting caught by joining the FBI. Actually, Frank had been raising Colin since childhood. His plan from the beginning was that when Colin would grow up, he would recruit him in the FBI and make him a big officer there and would continue his hooliganism in the city. But he did not know that the FBI department was also going to use the same trick against him. And the interesting thing is that both of them do not know that a traitor is hiding in their department. Now, first of all, these two FBI agents throw Billy out of the police service by proving him to be a traitor and sentence him to 1 year imprisonment in a fake case. So that when Billy later joins Frank's gang, he does not have any doubt on Billy. Actually, they want to show all this as real. When Billy is spending his first year in jail, Colin stays in the department and makes a good name for himself in the FBI by arresting many criminals. Actually, he is not a great policeman. Actually, Frank is giving him the addresses and all the evidence of all the criminals whom he arrests so that Colin can become a senior agent in the FBI. Meanwhile, Colin also falls in love with a girl who is a phycologist. Now, after a year, when Billy comes out of jail, he is living the life of a traitor. In the meantime, he is also committing small crimes to survive. Then the time comes for him to join Frank's gang. For that, he first kills two goons in a shop who used to go to the streets and rob money in the name of Frank, which Frank did not like at all. But when Billy kills both of them, Frank sees a lot of passion in him. After which Frank calls Billy to meet him in a restaurant and also asks him to join his gang. But before joining the gang, he searches Billy thoroughly and tries to get him to reveal the truth by beating him whether Billy still works for the police or not. But Billy does not deviate from his mission at all, and seeing his helpless condition and poverty, Frank becomes convinced that this man is no longer in the police and he includes him in his gang. Here, the first mission of the FBI to include Billy in Frank's gang is completed. Now the FBI people put a mic in Billy's body so that they can hear everything Frank says. And while they are listening to all Frank's words, Billy goes to the toilet, takes out his mic and throws it out the window because he realizes that if he is caught, Frank will kill him. After coming out from there, Billy calls those FBI agents and tells them that they will not be able to do any recording with the mic because it can prove to be very dangerous. He will tell him all the things about Frank through call only. And also Billy asks them, why are you doing all this? Why don't you go straight and catch him? So Queenan tells him that actually Frank is secretly selling US military technology to China through a small microprocessor. And to stop this, Billy has been given this mission. Now we are shown that the FBI catches one of Frank's men and starts investigating him. When Colin comes to know about this, he becomes very scared. He feels that this man might actually reveal the address of Frank's hideout, so he makes a plan. First of all, he stops the recording happening there, and then takes the phone of another policeman and goes inside the room posing as the lawyer of that criminal, and also locks the door from inside so that the policeman sitting outside cannot listen to them. And here this criminal also does not know that he is Frank's secret spy, nor does he know that he is in the FBI. So Colin very cleverly gives the phone to the criminal and asks him to call his home and tell that he will not be able to come home today. Actually, this is a signal by which Frank's men come to know that one of their comrades has been caught, and now they will have to leave that base and run away from there because the police can come there anytime. That criminal and Colin know about this code, but those policemen sitting outside do not know. So outside, he fools those policemen and says that I gave him the phone and told him to call his home and tell them that he cannot come today, but I knew that he would not call his home but would call his friends, with the help of which we can track this location and reach their base. Hearing this, all the policemen think that Colin is really very intelligent, but how did they know that this is all a trick of his to not get Frank caught? By doing this, Colin also saved Frank and did not let the criminal know that he was Frank's secret spy who works in the FBI. Now when the police track that location and reach there, they come to know that Frank's men have burnt that fire and all of them have fled from there. Then we see that Billy gets treatment to remove the stress from his mind from the same phycologist who is Colin's girlfriend. Then after that, Billy meets his two senior agents and while arguing with them, he asks that if they know that Frank is selling military security to China, then why don't they go and arrest him directly? But they say that until we get evidence, there is no use in catching him. Now after this, Billy tells them the location and time of the next deal between Frank and the Chinese people. After finding out the location, police personnel go to that place and install cameras and also put the phones of all those people on trace, so that if they try to run away from there, they can catch them by tracing the phone. But when Colin comes to know about this very late, he very cleverly sends a message to Frank saying no phones from inside his pocket. Seeing this, Frank asks all his friends to switch off their phones. But now, along with the FBI, Colin also comes to know that an FBI agent is working undercover in Frank's gang. Now, when the police come there to arrest them, Frank tells them all to run away from the back of the building through another route. And the police are not able to catch them because the policeman who was given the responsibility of setting up a camera there forgets to set up a camera on that route. Due to which the FBI people do not know where Frank and his gang are running from, which also leads to a fight in the department itself. Now the next day Billy calls his senior and tells him that Frank knew that the police knew the location of his deal, and also he knew everything about the cameras, and this clearly means that Frank had a spy in the FBI department. But did you guys pay attention to the fact that Colin came to know at the end that there are cameras installed there, and as soon as he knew, he asked Frank to turn off the phones. But he did not know where the cameras were installed, nor did he have enough time to tell Frank where to leave. Then how did Frank know that the cameras were not installed behind the building, and from there he had to leave without any tension? We will know the answer to this at the end of the movie, so watch this movie till the end. Now we see that Colin also tells Frank that an FBI agent is working undercover in your gang. So he asks Colin to find that agent, for which Colin asks Frank for complete information about all his men. Then we see that Billy was inquiring about Frank from a man. Actually, he was an old friend of Frank. And there he comes to know that Frank himself is an informer of the FBI who does illegal business and informs the FBI about big illegal businesses and helps them in arresting big criminals. But this time, out of greed for money, Frank is cheating with the FBI by selling the technology of the US Army to China. Now Frank is also an informer of the FBI. This fact is not known to Billy's seniors because Frank used to provide information only to the most senior officers of the FBI. And for this reason, every time the senior officers of the FBI do not allow any case to be made against Frank. And due to this reason, even Billy's seniors are not able to catch him. And now Billy tells this to his seniors also. And the next day we see that when Billy reaches his base, he sees that complete information of all the people is being taken to catch the traitor of his gang. And those people are filling all their details and putting them in an envelope. But a person writes the spelling of citizen wrong. Then Billy corrects it and writes the spelling correctly. On the other hand, we see that a head of the FBI department orders Colin to find out that Frank's a spy who is working in the FBI. Now he is the spy, so it clearly means that if he will not get himself caught, then he will have to implicate an innocent person. Then we see that Frank meets Colin in a movie theater and gives him the same envelope which has full details of all Frank's men. But we come to know that Billy was following Frank and he is also present in that theater, because his senior has also given him the task of finding the spy hidden in the FBI. Now Billy chases Colin so that he can see his face and find out the spy hidden in the FBI. But unfortunately he cannot see his face. Then we see that Frank becomes suspicious of Billy, that he may be the spy because earlier he was in the police but later he was sentenced to 1 year for treason and was expelled from the police. He feels that who knows, this might be a trick of the FBI. So one day he deliberately gives him wrong information about his next plan, which he tells only to Billy so that if this matter reaches the FBI, his suspicions on Billy will be confirmed. After this, Frank calls Colin and asks if the FBI has received any new information about me about my next plan. Then in response Colin says that no information has been received yet. Actually, Billy comes to know that Frank is suspecting him of being a spy, so he deliberately does not tell this information to his seniors. Now on the other hand, we see that to complete the task that Colin had to find the spy who had entered the FBI department, he asks the FBI agents to chase after Officer Queenan. He does this because he had to prove someone as a spy, and he also knew that the spy of Frank's gang works for Officer Queenan, so when Queenan meets that spy, he will prove him the spy of Frank and also find out the spy of the Frank's gang. Now we see that Officer Queenan is going to meet Billy, and at the same time he is being followed by FBI agents. Now when Billy and Queenan meet in a building, FBI agents call Colin and inform him that Queenan is meeting with some unknown person. Now as soon as Colin comes to know that Queenan is meeting the spy of Frank's gang, he immediately calls Frank and tells him this so that he can find out the spy of his gang. Now Frank sends his associates to catch the spy hiding in his gang by giving him the location of that building. So one of the men calls Billy and tells him to come quickly to 314 Washington Street. We have found the spy. Hearing this, Billy comes to know that Queenan was being followed. So Queenan asks Billy to go out through the back of the building and he stays there and waits for Frank's men. Now Billy comes out of the building, but Frank's men throw Queenan off the roof and Queenan dies on the spot. Seeing this, Billy becomes very upset and sad. He does not understand what he will do next. Then suddenly his friends came down from the building and says to Billy, "Why did you wait so long to come? Now sit in the car quickly." Actually, they did not find out that Billy was a spy. Seeing this, the FBI agents who were chasing Queenan start shooting at all the criminals. In that firing, a man gets shot and becomes badly injured. But somehow they escape from there. Then we see that there is a lot of debate in the office between the sergeant and Colin as to why Colin had sent FBI agents after Queenan. Colin says, because I suspected that Queenan might be Frank's spy. Hearing this, the sergeant gets very angry and resigns from his job. Then we see that the criminal who got shot calls Billy to him and asks him that today he had thought that the one who does not come to catch the spy in that building will be the spy. But when I asked you to come, I made a mistake in my haste. I gave you the wrong address, but you came to the right place. Hearing this, Billy realizes that he knows that Billy is the spy, so he takes out his gun and is about to kill him. But the injured man stops him and says, "Just think about why I haven't told anyone about your being a spy till now." And after saying this, the man dies. But Billy keeps his phone with himself. Then we see that Colin has all the evidence of Queenan's death. Queenan's phone is also kept in the same evidence. So he goes to the contact list from Queenan's phone and calls the undercover agent. And that ring rings on the phone of the same dead criminal whose phone Billy had taken. This means that the dead man was also an FBI agent who used to go undercover and join Frank's gang and tell Queenan everything about Frank. Now when Billy picks up the phone, Colin tells him that now that Queenan is dead, "I am in charge of you, now you will tell me all the information about Frank." He says this because in Queenan's evidence, he finds a diary in which Queenan has written that Frank is an FBI informer, which Billy himself has told Queenan. Colin gets scared after knowing this because if Frank is an FBI informer, then he can expose Colin at any time. That is why now Colin becomes Frank's enemy. On the other hand, we see that even in the news, the police tell us that the killed criminal was none other than an undercover agent. Hearing this, Frank becomes relieved because now his gang spy is dead. So he now sets out for his next deal. And like every time, Billy tells this to his senior, who is Colin. And the police go to their location and kill all the criminals. And also when Colin, seeing the opportunity, kills Frank, so that no one would know about his being a spy. Billy runs away from there before the police attack because he knows that the police are going to come here. Now everyone in the office is congratulating Colin because Colin has finally done the work which the FBI department could not do for so many years. Now at the same time, Billy also comes to the office to meet Colin because Frank is now dead and his work has also been completed. So he tells the password of his undercover agent and asks for his money which he was supposed to get from the FBI. Now when Colin went to the computer room and was loading Billy's file, Billy saw the same citizen envelope in Colin's desk which he had written with his own hands. Now because this envelope contained complete information about all Frank's associates and through this information Frank wanted to catch the spy of his gang. Then after seeing all this, Billy understands why Frank gave this envelope to Colin only. Because he is Frank's spy who is working in the FBI, and after that he quietly leaves from there without informing anyone. Now when Colin returns to his cabin, he sees the envelope placed in front of the desk and understands that Billy has come to know that Colin is Frank's spy. So he goes back to the computer room and deletes the entire undercover information of Billy, whose real name is William. And now there is no proof that Billy, whose real name is William, was an undercover agent except Sergeant. But he has already left the FBI. Now after this, Billy gives a CD to the phycologist who is Colin's girlfriend in which there were call recordings of Colin and Frank. Actually, Frank had recorded this call and given it to his lawyer so that if Colin ever betrays him, then his lawyer should give this recording to Billy because in his eyes, Billy was his most trusted man. Now when the phycologist listens to that recording, she comes to know that Colin is a spy and after knowing this, she leaves him. Now Billy blackmails Colin and calls him to the same building where Queenan was murdered. There Billy handcuffs Colin and arrests him. But an FBI agent also comes there following Colin. But Billy shows him the gun and comes down from there through the lift. But as soon as the lift door opens, another FBI agent kills Billy by shooting him in the head, and tells Colin that he is also Frank's spy who works for him while in the FBI. Meanwhile, the other officer also comes down and he shoots him also and he dies. And the next moment Colin also shoots and kills the FBI agent who was Frank's second spy. Then after that he tells a false story to the FBI that they were all spies of Frank, and by saying this he gets saved. Now that everything is fine, Colin goes to his home carefree and happy. But there we see that the ex-officer sergeant was waiting for Colin in his house, and as soon as Colin reaches his house, he kills him by shooting him in the head. And the story ends here. Now let us discuss some important questions of the story, like how Frank came to know where the police had installed cameras in his dealing area and where not. Because when the police surround him, he escapes to another place as if he knows that the police will not be able to see him there because there are no cameras there. The answer to this is that Frank's another spy who knew where the cameras were installed and where not. Now the second question is that when this man was an undercover agent of Queenan, why did he not tell Queenan that Frank had sent all his men to that building to catch the spy? And the answer is that Frank did not tell them that there was an FBI agent there. He only told his men that there was a spy of our gang in that building, but when they reached there, Billy had taken him out of there. And only Queenan was there, so he was forced to kill Queenan along with his companions. Because if he had tried to save Queenan, everyone would have come to know that he is also a spy. So how did you like this story? Tell us in the comments and subscribe to us to watch such videos. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.